branding like a pro. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your guy Dennis Boateng. Welcome to Branding Like a Pro. And yo, what's the one thing that can make or break your personal brand? I'll wait. It's culture. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can use culture to stand out. I have a dope presentation, dope conversation that I'm going to be having just to talk about the importance of culture. We're going to talk about why it matters in branding. We're going to talk about the steps to create a personal brand that resonates, that also dips into the culture that one may have. And also, too, the key elements of brand identity, which I think are very important. And also, I'm going to answer questions. So if you guys want to just leave comments or even drop comments below for me to answer, that would be super duper duper dope. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Um, I don't know if you guys really know who I am, and I'm Dennis Boateng, as I've said. But here's the thing: you're probably wondering, why is this guy telling me about branding? Why is he telling me about culture? Well, here's the thing: branding and culture have a lot to do with who I am. They're literally part of my brand. And it is so important to me to talk about culture. It's so important to me to talk about branding as well, because here's the thing. Um, I grew up at a part of like a time of my life where discovering who I am was so important. It was like the thing that I was always obsessed with, because I was always in just different places, growing up in different countries and interacting and being immersed in different cultures. So my identity was so important to me. And that drove me to be able to, you know, be interested in so many things. And they made up who I was, who I am, and who I would like to be. So I think it's very important when people are looking to build their brands, especially personal, that they start paying attention to those things. Because there's so many gems in the experiences that you have. There's so many gems in the ideas that you have. And all you have to do is just find a strategy, find the time and balance, and do the research to be able to craft an amazing and unforgettable personal brand. All right, so let's get into it. As I talked about too, culture. I know you guys like my presentation. I got my guy Omar on there. I got Marquez Brownlee. I got my homegirl Nikki, and then I got Adrian on there. If you're not familiar with these people, you should get familiar with them. And the reason why I even chose them for the thumbnail is because I think that these people are like literally leading the culture, creator culture, whether it's being a content creator, but also too in their niche cultures too. But anyway, let's get into it. So as I talked about culture, the question always comes up: what is culture? Right? It's a word that people just throw out so much. Well, culture can literally enhance connections with your audience, right? But in this, if we're given the basic um, definition, is that culture is these shared values and beliefs and customs that define a group, right? But in branding, it reflects your story, your background, and what you stand for. For example, and I report back to this brand a lot of times, just because it's probably one of the big like juggernaut brands, that being Nike. Nike uses athlete culture to literally inspire through different campaigns, whether it's a Jordan brand campaign, whether it's like the one that we've all seen lately was like winning is not for everybody. Right. So, or even as of late, them showcasing, year of the Mamba, right? So they're always utilizing the athletes that they have, right, who have culture and impact to just push their culture, which usually most of the time aligns with Nike's. Um, and you know what? Here's the thing. Oh yeah, shout out my guy Freddie. What's good? What's good? What's good? Also too, I do want to ask a question for you guys, and please leave a comment. You can go ahead, drop it below, or just interact with me, talk to me. I want you guys to talk back, but share with me like what's the culture element that you feel like has influenced your personal brand or your business. I'll go first. I remember the moment that I saw, I believe it was a Reebok commercial where Allen Iverson and Jadakiss were Jadakiss was rapping, AI had the ball. I mean, guys was dribbling the ball and everything. It was black and white. But man, that is probably one of my most vivid memories of like, yo, this is so dope. Um, that was such, and it was a cultural stamp in bridging like hip hop in the new age of basketball. I mean, Jada Kiss and AI doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion. But anyway, let's keep this going. Oh yeah, one thing too. I'm gonna say it again. Drop it in the chat. How do you like? I want you guys to talk to me. How has culture impacted your personal brand and your business? All right, so here we go. Culture is key. And if you didn't know, now you know. What culture does is it literally helps you resonate with a specific audience, right? So the example that I had talked about was when I saw that Reebok commercial. I don't even remember how old I was at the time, but one thing I know that is I was into basketball, I was into hip hop. So when I saw that commercial, when I saw that ad, it resonated with me. And I started even digging into like, man, now I want to wear Reebok. Like the little things that Reebok did. And I'm not just saying like little, like it was no, you know, I'm sure they had an amazing team. Shout out to Steve Stout, who helped bring that vision to fruition. But it was just so dope. Another thing too, the reason why culture is key is because it creates an emotional connection that brings forth loyalty, right? So if there's a culture that you know is authentic, you're more than likely going to, hey, I trust this. I think I want to be loyal to this. Why do you think so many people still were like, oh, checks over stripes. That's the thing, right? Now, that ain't what I'm saying. I like what I like. But here's the thing: a lot of people find a loyalty to certain brands or personal brands too. Let's talk about athletes. I mean, come on. We have the LeBron and MJ feud that still goes on, or we have the KD and LeBron thing, or what are we talking about? Even point guards, or even if we want to even go into different things, let me point one out. Somebody help me out. What? Chick-fil-A and whatever, Five Guys versus In and Out. Like all these different brands that have done something to gain their audience's loyalty where they're willing to go out here and really be about it. They're willing to be soldiers for these brands that they trust. And somebody who I think does it really well too is my homegirl, Nikki, right? So Nikki brings authenticity and cultural relevance in her conversations, even with her personal brand. She highlights a lot of like storytelling. She brings power to it, and what she does really well that I admire. Shout out to you, Nikki. Is she brings just this emotional side to the creator economy. Like if you tap in with her or even watch her videos, she's always, "How are you guys doing? What is it that you're doing? Are you burnt out? Do you need to take a break?" Like she makes you trust her. She becomes like, yo, this is the homie that I've been looking for. This is the homie that I needed, right? And I can speak to that because I also know her personally. A little slight flex here, but I just wanted to put that out there. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. because here we go. Culture has to be part of your brand, right? Culture has to be part of your brand. And people may be wondering, okay, well, Dennis, go ahead and tell me, how do I infuse the culture into my brand? Well, here's the thing. You have to do that. You have to do your homework first and foremost. Just like a lot of brands, personal brands or business brands have done their homework. They had to literally like do research. They had to tap in and find out who they were. What are the things that move them, right? Because when you find those things within the culture and bring them to the forefront of your personal brand, what you're doing is now you're setting yourself up to build a community. Now you also have a language, you have an image. Y'all better be taking notes. And also, there's a messaging that literally mirrors your values, right? So you may be wondering, like, okay, what are you talking about values? Every brand has values that they follow. That is why it's easy for established personal brands or business brands to be able to say no to certain things. Sometimes I think is really um I mean, for me, someone who like studies and pays attention is a nerd about branding. It's funny when you see people like, oh man, it makes sense. Why would this person say no to this brand? Why won't this person do a collaboration with this? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't make sense for somebody with who's like, has clarity about their personal brand and is standing on its value, on the foundation of his or her values, right? To be able to go do a collaboration with a company uh, or another brand that does not, you know, have similar values, because then you'd be going against your own code. And whenever you do that, you pretty much you're there is no you don't have loyalty to your own brand. You don't have loyalty to your own self. So I think that is very important to understand that. Because literally those values influence and shape your work and your business. This is why um you see guys like a Mr. Beast doing what he does. There's a code that he has, right? There's a reason why you got um streamers like a Kai Sanat that does what he does and stands out the way that he does. There is a reason why you have individuals like a Gary V who does what he does and stands out the way that he does. And I tell you what, I know one thing about his culture that I know for sure that always stands out is his authenticity, right? He's one that will not cower down, won't really he is who he is. And people know that. When he steps in the room, you know when Gary Vee's in the room. And I'm not just saying that just because of his voice or the air quotes. But more than anything is because he sticks to his guns. He knows what he's good at. He knows that, hey, this is my culture. This is what I stand on. You know what? I'm all about innovation. That's what he's about. He's about authenticity, innovation, and also he's like dream big and go after what you want. That's his culture. Now, I may not know the exact thing, I've never had a conversation with him to be telling you and breaking that down, but from what I've seen, I've been around him before, and just hearing him speak, or you look at his social media, that is exactly what I get. Right now, I would like to even tap into something a little bit more when it comes to culture and like putting culture into your brand. Someone who I think that is doing that really well is um, Adrian. Adrian Per, I believe is how you say his last name. He's on social media. He's on IG and he goes by OMG Adrian. And he's really good at like blending uh his story, like of being Filipino American. Um he does well with cinematic storytelling. Um And he has built a brand around that that's relatable and aspirational. He talks about, yo, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't the best student, but the thing that I knew how to do is just always be with my camera. So, what I want to do real quick is show you guys a video, and
Me
I'm gonna go ahead.
and my normal life, the ups and the downs, all of it every single day happening right
Hold
here.
on.
No, literally, right here, every
Let
day.
me get that together. Let you guys
For as long as I
go
can
ahead
remember, this is
and
all that
just
has
be
brought me
patient with
joy.
me real quick. And I'm good to go now. All right.
It's me and my normal life, the ups and the downs, all of it every single day happening right here. No, literally, right here, every day. For as long as I can remember, this is all that has brought me joy. I've had a camera in my hand all of my life. I was never that great at school, and art was something that everyone always said wasn't a real thing. And to be fair, they weren't necessarily wrong. It didn't really exist back then, let alone for people that look like me and from where I'm from or where my parents are from. But the older I got, it truly was the only thing that made me happy to express myself creatively. I would have never thought that at some point it would end up being my full time job. So, alongside sharing what it's like as a full time creative here, I'll also be sharing with you everything that I've learned along the way working in this industry for over a decade. An inside look on how I film, how I write, how I edit, how I manage a team and a crew, what it's like directing and producing a commercial for a big brand, and also just, like I said, normal life, day in, day out. I'm here just making something that I wish I could have had when I knew nothing about the creative industry. A resource just for my younger self.
Look, I would play the whole video, but man, it's that good, right? He's really good at implementing the culture and the story. So here's the thing that I want to ask you guys again. What cultural values or influences are shaping your work and your business? I need you guys to really think about that, right? Because these are the drivers of your personal brand. These are the things that really help you build the community. These are what that, in my opinion, being able to nurture your community because you've built the culture that they relate to, that is success. And that is just the beginning of it. So if you're able to do that, that is a step in the right direction. Now, we got to talk about personal branding, right? So, my question to you, what is personal branding? What have you heard about it? What do you think? Right? I think we're in the age that personal branding really matters. Even though it's always mattered, I believe that it matters now more than ever because of social media, because of uh, culture, once again, because of brands wanting to align themselves with the creators. So for me, I think personal branding is about a foundation of authenticity. And an example, like I mentioned before, someone who I think does it well is a guy like Gary V. He's very authentic. There's he, there's one Gary V. There's one you. There's one me. So we have to start really paying attention to the things that make us unique, highlighting those things and using those things for to be able to influence who we are and what we're doing, right? Because in order to be able to have impact, you know, you do have to you have to be able to be sure of yourself. Um, Here's the thing that I also want to share with you guys is this. When it comes to personal branding, here's the thing. Everybody's a brand. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you are a walking brand. You build a personal brand when you really start like paying attention to yourself. Hey, these are the things that move me. These are the things that I like. These are the things that I want to do. This is the person that I want to be. This is the impact that I want to have. This is the purpose that I have. These are the people I want to serve. When you start asking yourself those questions, or these are the things that you're thinking about, welcome. Now you are thinking about building a personal brand. Now, here are the things that um the five pillars, right, of personal branding. One, it's clarity. So, knowing who you are and your mission. Why do you do what you do? Example, my guy Omar El Takori, right? Omar is really clear about his mission. If you guys don't know who Omar El Takori is, I advise that you search him up, watch his videos. Uh, he's really good at what he does, right? And he's an amazing. I think to me at least, he's like the guy that is really leading the fort for Christian entrepreneurs. But here's the thing about Omar: he's very clear about what he does. He's clear about his mission. He's here to empower creators with different tools, wisdom, and insights on how they can show up and be their best self through video, and how they can make the best offers. How can they can then also tap into their worth and who they are. He does that very well. The second one is consistency. Consistency is about showing up regularly across all platforms, being able to have the same tone that you say that you have, right? So people are able to recognize you by your tone, your message, being able to be recognizable through consistency. I don't know where that drum came from. Maybe I did something good. I think that's what happened. Um, but being able to being recognizable because of your tone and your messaging, right? So, for instance, with me, uh, my message and my goal is to help champion brands. Um, sorry, helping the champions brands like their voice, their culture, and their identity, and I do all that through design and podcasts. That is the tone that I have. So you'll catch me talking about culture. You'll hear me talking about identity, and you'll hear me talking about the voice of a brand. And you'll hear me talk about design and how it can help your brand stand out, and podcasting and how it can ignite your voice and make the tone and the culture of your brand stand out in a crowded room, right? So that's who I am. My tone won't ever change because I use certain mediums to have certain conversations that I know I'm called to. So another example um, that I have here regarding to consistencies is Marquez Brownlee. You already know this brother is going to show up and give you tech reviews. He is consistent in that. He's not deviating from that. And he's going to deliver high quality and honest, appeal and very appealing content. That's what he does. That's who he is. Another pillar on the list is community, which is building an audience that shares your vision, building a network or audience that resonates with your message. And like I said before, also nurturing them. So you got to understand that as you're getting people, as you're getting people to tap in to who you are, you got to make sure you also have to make sure that you're able to nurture them. You're able to, that emotional side, as I mentioned, that Nikki does, right? Um, you want to make sure that um, you show up, right? That they know that they can depend on you. They can depend on your voice. Another pillar is credibility. You want to be able to establish the trust through your expertise, right? So prove your expertise through your content, for results, right? You also want results for your personal brand or your business's brand, but then also be able to provide or and produce results for your community. For instance, the reason why I believe and I know I can speak to podcasting and branding is simply because I've been in the media game for a decade plus. I remember I started my internship at CBS Sports Radio, and all I was doing, I was an assistant producer at the time. Like I didn't even really know much about podcasting, but I knew people that was doing it, and it interested in me. It built an interest in me to be able to like, I think I need to go ahead and start doing this. Right from there, I graduated college, and my first job was at ESPN Radio. Got the opportunity to be a producer for a few shows, and I started my first podcast in those studios. So I understand what it's like. I started my own podcast there. Then I uh, launched a podcast with my wife, which caught attention from some CEOs. And then I was able to have my own show with Slam, where I interviewed just different executives and NBA Hall of Famers, basketball Hall of Famers, um, to talk about the business of basketball and branding. And then, you know, this channel here, being able to sit down and have conversations with some of the greatest minds. So I believe that I have the weight to be able to talk about this because I've actually put in time. I've stuck with this and been around it, whether ups or downs. I can speak to this industry. Um, Another thing that's very important with your personal branding is creativity. One thing that I told you about earlier was about your ideas, right? So being able to leverage your ideas is so important, whether it's visual ones or even communicating your ideas. You want to be able to stand out by just incorporating those ideas, whether it's through your visuals, colors, or messaging, as I mentioned. It's so important. Now, we're going to talk about something very important, which is brand identity building blocks. And I just thought, hear me out real quick. I put the picture up here, and because I thought that, man, this is Pharrell, somebody who inspires me, who I think has a very strong brand identity for a very long time. But then you can see the little metaphor there, the brand identity building blocks. He's holding the logo. I mean, the Legos. I think that's pretty good. That's just me though. I think I did a pretty good job there. Anyway, um, here are the building blocks. All right. So visuals, the visual identity of your brand, it matters at all times. Please, please, please do not let the culture of your brand be caught lacking. Don't do that. And the way that you can refrain from doing that or avoiding that is by making sure that your logos, your colors, and the designs that represent your brand are all, all sharp. These are the things that matter. People will, you know, get frustrated and just go do something and go to someone and just get it done the cheap way and then have to go ahead and do it again and do it again and do it again and don't understand why. Well, don't do it the cheap way, do it the right way, right? Because you got to think, you're not just going to step out the house any type of way, right? You're not going to be talking to people any type of way, especially if you're selling something or you're trying to build trust with someone. You're always going to put your best foot forward. So these are the same things. Like these are the visual. This is the visual identity for your brand, and you want to make sure that it's always on point because it does evoke emotions, and it also aligns with the personality of your brand, right? And in this case, if you are talking about a business brand, it is literally the extension of your personal brand. who you are. Your business should be an extension of you. There's no separation, right? There's no separation. When you're building a business, it's going to have the characteristics of who you are. And that, I'm telling you, that is what's going to happen. But here's the thing, also too, you want to uh, choose like designs and symbols that represent your values and that like resonate with the audience also that you're going for. You don't want to just show up with half done logos, or logos that don't speak to the industry or the people that you're trying to nurture, or the industry that you want to be in. One thing too that I also believe is that's very important is this. Um, I don't know if everybody that's watching this video is an entrepreneur. Um, and I don't know if everybody watching this video is looking for a job or looking to get in certain industries. But here's the thing that I think is very, very important: build a personal brand. Even if you're pitching yourself to a company because you want to work for them, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to work with a brand, make sure that your personal brand is impeccable. Always work at your personal brand. It never stops. As you grow, as you evolve, it will evolve as well. Now, let's get to the next part, which is your voice. You want to define a tone that matches your brand. Are you formal? Are you casual? Are you motivational? Um, the person that I've been talking about here is, once again, and I just want to make sure that it relates so you guys are following me, is Nikki. She has a motivational and empowering tone, which is relatable to a lot of people who are in this on this path to building a brand and want to build something bigger than themselves. And it uplifts an audience. I think about individuals um like a Steve Harvey. Y'all know his tone. It's very it's sarcastic, but it's comical, right? Whether it's from his TV show or to Family Feud. And I don't even know why I picked him. That was so random. Um, but think about even individuals who you watch on a daily basis, or like, man, they just dropped the podcast. I have to watch it. The reason why you watch is because the tone and the voice they have is relatable to who you are and where you're at. So imagine that. Imagine the type of voice or tone that you can have for the people that you're serving if you get your personal brand in shape. Now, there's also other things that you need to do, which is aligning your identity with your values, right? So I decided to put a picture of Steve Jobs, young Steve Jobs. One thing that I think is really cool is him holding an apple, and even like with their tagline, "Think Different." I think is so dope because he was an individual that literally was always thinking different. And people either liked him or didn't like him because of that, right? So you want to make sure that the things that we talked about when it comes to the visual identity, that it aligns with the values. So you got to ensure that all those elements are cohesive and they represent your core values. Man, I'm rapping today. I'm talking about core values. He's holding the apple. Look, the core of the apple. There's seeds. You know what I mean? This man Steve Jobs was sowing seeds. He's not here, and look at the fruit. All right, is it just me? That was a bar. That was a bar. If y'all thought that was a bar, y'all gotta definitely leave a comment for sure, for sure. But anyway, I just thought that was super cool. All right, here's another thing. We got to make sure that all aspects of your brand reflect your values. As I said that, I had to repeat that again because here's the thing: when you don't, when it doesn't reflect your core values, then you lose your people, you lose your community. They're like, hold on, I thought you were this type of brand, or We thought that you were this type of, we thought you were building this type of community. I don't think I want to be part of this anymore. And you don't want confusion to happen within, like, you, before, you want to make sure that you avoid confusion. So you want to be clear in who you are. And yes, I understand that rebranding happens, but that happens when you're expanding, right? So you want to be able to serve the people that you're serving now. And then when you're serving them, then you can also expand, right? Because it's so important that you have a people or community that you're focusing on before you expand and try to save the whole world. Storytelling is also very important, right? Storytelling and branding is so very important because the story humanizes your brand and it also builds connections, as I continue to talk about. I've been talking about this since the beginning of this. You guys got to tap in with me. All right. So connections are important, but stories are what connect the brand to you and I, or the people that we're serving. Right. And the reason why that's important is because the story can also build trust through that connection. Someone who I think is really great at telling stories is Ronnie Feig. And he is the owner and creative director of a clothing brand called Kith. All right. So he does that so well. And I want to show you guys how well he actually does it. Okay. So let's go ahead. So as you're watching um Ronnie here, here's the thing about him that is so cool, right? He, in other videos, he talks about um his love for BMW, right? He's done collaborations with them before, but in this video, it's like, hey, I'm here now. Still my favorite brand, a car. This is all telling a story. I mean, look how he's showcasing this brand. Like it makes you want to be part of this. Who it makes me want to go get a BMW, honestly. Right? And even when you go, so he's driving and everything, he's going through the streets in Miami. And here's the cool thing. He stops. Right? I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit. Check this out. He opens up the door to this container, and then there's a car, an older model BMW. For all you BMW lovers, I'm not even gonna say the model because I don't remember the name off the top of my head. But here's the thing: this is one of his favorite models. So he's selling a story here. He's connecting the old to new for the BMW lovers. Isn't that so cool? Like I I personally think that is super cool. Right? I think he did a great job in doing some storytelling there and connecting the dots, right? So here's the thing. Let's talk about tools that can help you with um your branding, right? So you can use Pinterest because building a mood board for your brand is so very important. Before you do anything else, I think that you should be getting on Pinterest all the time. That is the tool that I use. I literally have folders that I continue to pin different photos, quotes, and all these things that literally relate to my personal brand and who and like the personal brand that I want to continue to build and the people that I want to speak to. So I'm building that. And then also too on Instagram, there's so many creators out there that are doing amazing that people are inspired by. See, I use Instagram as a research engine. I see what people are doing. I comment, I interact, I like certain things. I save things that I like. I'm inspired by them. And then what I do is like, okay, how what did I learn from this? How does this relate to my personal brand? What lesson did I get from this? And how can I use that to maybe help me build better content? How can it help me maybe design better? Um, how can it help me reach the people that I want to reach? Right. And that's why I also think that is important that you, with those tools that I mentioned with a Pinterest or Instagram as you're saving things, that you also work on having a branding roadmap. Oops, which I do have available. You guys got to tap in. It's in the description. You guys tap into um, the branding roadmap, and also I have um, a also too when we talked about the voice of your brand, right, which is very important. Uh, Here's another thing: there's nothing louder than a podcast. So there's a lot of things that are happening, right? That people are like, "Oh, you need to take mics away from people and all of that," and it's hilarious. I think it's funny. Um, but here's the thing: the mics are not being taken away from people who are clear with their branding. The people who know who they know who they're speaking to, they know who they're there to serve, which then in return helps them have the right conversations for the right people. And then they're able to build products for the right people. And then their personal brand can show up anywhere at any time and still have a strong foundation. It just cannot be shaken, it cannot be broken. And that is what I believe is so important. And I want for you guys as well. It's so important to have a strong foundation when it comes to your personal branding. So, with the tools that I just talked about, I want you to also just click the links below and start thinking about the how can your brand stand out, right? Maybe you need a podcast, but before you do that, we have to make sure that we tighten up your branding. It has to be it has to be on point. It has to be clear to your audience because here's the thing: I'm not in the business of telling people to start an expensive hobby. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people to truly understand, like, hey, this is who I am as a personal brand. This is who I am when I'm promoting and marketing the business that I have as a brand. Oops. Right. So then when we're working on a podcast, when we build a strong identity, brand identity for your podcast, it literally relates to what you're doing to where your audience is not like, oh my gosh, what's this new thing? Oh my gosh, is he or she podcasting now? No, they're like, they're excited. They're like, finally, we want to hear more. And I think that's the thing that we want to bring to platforms like a YouTube, or Instagram, or even your website. That's why Branded Like a Pro exists. That's what me, Freddie, and Danielle do. We believe in that. We've been in the trenches, y'all. We've been in the trenches, okay? We've done a lot. We work with a lot of people. We love the brands that we work with. We love the that clients come and trust us to do what we do. And that's why we love what we're doing. But with that, I do want to see if you guys have any questions because I would love to answer some questions. So if you have questions, please make sure that you drop them below and I will come back and answer those questions. We want to have conversations. We want to discover things that I believe can help you all get to where you need to get to. All right. But as questions are rolling through, here's the thing. These are the things that we talked about, and I want to just kind of reiterate here. The culture creates connection and loyalty. A clear, consistent personal brand builds trust, and that your brand identity ties your message and your visual identity together. That is what we learned today. And I want you guys, I hope that y'all took notes. If you haven't, start this over. If there's certain areas that you need to skip to, make sure that you do that and take the notes down, and let's continue to have these conversations. I'm so excited to just get more people in our community. We have some amazing things coming, but like I said, we have links below uh, that you need to tap into, and I can't wait to start working with some of you guys and getting your brand clarity like happening right now. And if you're thinking about building a podcast for your personal brand or your business, I am so excited to be able to just be in partnership with you and making that happen. So, with all that, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Dennis Boateng from Branded Like a Pro. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure that you leave a comment. And I look forward to having more conversations. Peace.